So I still think that William's a big problem. He doesn't feel comfortable with this rift being fixed, and he, I don't think, would have wanted this meeting to have gone ahead.
Almost like a part-time role, then disappear and have a lovely time in California.
What does he do in America? What does he do all day there? I mean, we saw a bit of show where he feeds his chickens.
Harry comes in, grabs all the headlines for a week, then he won't be back again for another year.
Meghan, particularly now, has lost quite a lot of popularity.
I just think that's disgusting, you know.
Welcome to Royal Exclusive, and what a week we have just had. Did the King really bury the Royal Hatchet with Harry over a cup of tea? Did the busy Prince and Princess of Wales show the visiting Duke what royal service and duty actually is? And does the King have an even more vital face-to-face coming up with the imminent arrival of President Donald Trump? I'm Matt Wilkinson, Royal Editor of The Sun, and with me here in London to discuss a pretty dramatic week is legendary royal photographer Arthur Edwards and royal commentator Daisy McAndrew. Right, welcome to you both. Look, headline news this week, the meeting happened. Harry had his little moment with the King at Clarence House. Daisy, was the King right to invite Prince Harry for this audience at Clarence House?
Yes, I think on balance he was. Obviously, there's still a lot that could go wrong. We all know that there will have been conditions and that the royal household will be looking very closely at Harry and his team to see if they spill the tea after that important meeting. So far, so good. But I do think for the good of everybody, including the country and the royal family, it's the right step in the right direction.
Who was it best for, Arthur? Was it best for Harry to be seen with the King, or the King to look like a generous, kind man that he gave his son some time?
I think it was for both of them, really. I think, you know, this is after all his son, and you don't stop loving your son. And he's now, Harry's been a bad boy in my view. You know what he's been writing and what he's been saying about his family. But you know what? When he came in May, he was sad and sorrowful and asked to sort of see the King, and he wanted to see him because he didn't know how long he had. And this time he was like cheerful, happy. The whole week was him smiling. Every time you look at a picture of him, he was smiling and enjoying his week this week. And I think just meeting his father, I think it's given him sort of a bit of comfort because, you know, I mean, he said some really nasty things about the family, but never said anything nasty about his father. And I think the King, I think it was worked out in advance. I think it was all negotiated. I think it was definitely going to happen. And the King coming down from Balmoral just for one day just shows that he wanted this as well. So for me, I'm glad it's happened. I don't think rifts in families are terrible, you know. And this is a bad one. Whether Meghan could come and to the palace yet, I don't think so. And whether William and his brother get together, I think that's a long way off. But his father, and of course his father is battling cancer, living with cancer, and Harry's concerned about that. Obviously, he thinks about it a lot. And having spent just less than an hour, a lot can be said in an hour. A lot of things can be said. And imagine there's only them two people in the room. I don't think anybody else heard the conversation. And if it leaks, if Harry says a word about it, I think that'll be the end of it.
And I think the fact that it hadn't leaked before it happened was also important. Obviously, there was, there's the opportunity for it to leak before the meeting, and then an opportunity to say what happened in the meeting. But I think that was good. And we know that there was that important meeting back in July at the Private Members Club in Pall Mall, where Tobin Andre and Meredith Main, so Harry's main woman and the King's main man, got together. That clearly was very, very relevant, and they must have thrashed things out in that meeting as to what would be acceptable and what wouldn't.
It was all ready. I mean, it was the week was designed for that in many ways. You know, and the King coming down like that, it made that effort, and I think they both I'm glad the meeting happened, and I'm glad whatever was said there, I hope a few things are sorted out.
Well, let's break this down, because you're right to point out that the King was in Balmoral most of the week, but he flew down on Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
He was here, I think we got him landing mid-afternoon. Harry was just finishing an event in West London. The King had a number of audiences. I think 2 audiences that he booked in. He had a little window between these two audiences. I think we have an Australian premiere, and I think he was giving an investiture to a Holocaust survivor.
That's right, yeah.
Harry was just squeezed in between these two audiences. I mean, what do you achieve? And we had him timed in and out, I think 53 minutes. His car went between his car going in and coming out. He hasn't seen him for 19 months. What on earth do you resolve in just that short period of time?
But don't you think it's a stepping stone? I think if they had put a whole day for them to spend together, that might have been sort of too much of this. Things are still going to be awkward. I'm imagining they're still going to be tricky.
And also, I imagine they planned something else for the future. There might be somewhere where the children are coming over. You never know what is discussed. You know, perhaps the king wants to see his grandchildren. Maybe he's talked about that to Harry. Whether that happens or not, you know, it's. There's a lot of things there's a lot of healing to be done, Matt, and it doesn't get done straight away. And this is just like as Daisy said, that meeting earlier on where it was negotiated, and then it's gone through, and whatever happened, Harry came out smiling, and everything he's done after that, everything he did this week, he was enjoying it, and it made such a change. When we came in May, it was miserable on television. Oh, please, I want reconciliation with the family. And he lost his court case. And here he gives away £1 million when he goes to a charity in Nottingham. Well Child, which is something he's just absolutely crazy about. I've done many of those Well Child events. The kids are all over him. They hug him. He loves it. And they're very sick children, and he just cares so much. And the whole week has been, for him, I think, quite successful. He's been in the papers every day more than anybody else, more than Donald Trump, more than politicians. He's been dominating the press this week because he's
we'll get onto his week. We'll break down what he did throughout the week.
You sound a bit more cynical than us, though.
What about the meeting?
About the tea, yeah.
About the tea. Well, I think it was. I am quite cynical. I think it was. He was photographed throughout the week many times, as we're going to talk about in a minute. But the most important picture, or the most important footage, was him going to see the King. If he hadn't come over, and if he'd come over for 4 or 5 days, walked around, smiled, been nice to the press, and gone home without seeing his father, it would have been a failure. And I don't think he would have come back again. I think it would have been a humiliation. And I think it was a saving face operation where he was allowed to go in there. The King squeezed him in a couple of audiences. He was just one of a number of audiences that had flown down to meet.
It's still a big deal. The fact that they haven't seen each other for so long, the fact that King saw him at all,
he had to see
is a
him.
big
If
deal.
he hadn't, it would have been a humiliation.
And also, don't you think, it seems to me that the King must have gone against William's wishes.
And Camilla, I would have thought,
and probably
he flew down without Camilla, remember?
Yeah,
and Harry flew in without Meghan.
It was. That's why I think it was all planned in advance. You know, I don't know, Matt, just all seemed to click. It just worked out, you know.
Well, I'll tell you, we were standing outside waiting for him to come in.
There's some negotiating going on there, and I don't know what it is, but, you know, hopefully it's for peace because, you know...
So you're saying, you know, we all know that, you know, it wasn't presumably a coincidence that people like yourself were standing outside waiting for him to go in.
It was the one window in everybody's diary that he could go see his father. And I believe that, you know, this isn't any inside information or like that, but I believe that everybody's happy that it's come out, the fact that they met and that there were TV cameras and journalists out there. There wasn't like a tipping off or anything like that, but it was quite clear this was the diary, he's got a gap here, this is where Harry's going to meet. But my argument is 19 months was the last time he saw him. A lot has happened in 5 or 6 years, a lot has happened in the past 19 months. Is this the beginning of the end of the rift, or is this just all staged for the cameras?
I think it's the beginning. I think it's beginning of the end of the rift. Yeah, I do. I don't know. I mean, there's lots more to. I mean, there's a lot of damage been done, Matt, and it's going to take a lot of repairing. But you know, you've got to start somewhere, and I think this was probably the start of it.
And I also think that it's something that even if certain people within the family have to bite their lip and you know, sort of grin and bear it, that they do. I think they do realise it's very important to somehow put some sort of ointment on that, you know, on that wound and try to heal it, because, you know, this week we had the new British Attitude survey about, you know, our opinion of the royals, and since, you know, it's absolutely, it's sort of taken a big hit. It's down to 51% of Brits think that the royals are important. It was 86% in the 1980s, so that is a big drop, and that's something that the royal family will be very aware of. And particularly their popularity has dropped with the young. And we do know that that's an area that Harry is, you know, he finds it a lot easier to connect with the younger demographic than the rest of the royals
But
do.
but if you look at the polling as well, if you look at the general polling of who's the most popular royal, Harry and Meghan are second from bottom, only kept from the bottom by Prince Andrew. At top is William and Catherine.
Yes,
they're the most popular royals. If you want to be
down,
popular, you hang out with them.
No, I completely agree. But that's with the general public. But if you break it down into different demographics,
I think with young
Harry's
people,
popularity does go up considerably, and particularly with people who don't really like the royals at all. They do think that Harry and Meghan have been treated badly by the royals, and they're more sympathetic towards them.
Young people do. Yeah, anybody under the age of 30 thinks they're victims. Anyone over the age of 30 thinks they're the terrible people. But
exactly.
Yeah.
And if you want to change the mind of those people, you have to fix that rift.
Well, so you think that fixing the rift is beneficial to the royal family's PR? Whether it is actually fixed behind, if we all perceive that everyone's happy families again, then it's good for the royals.
I think to the bits of the British public who are hard to reach for the royals. So I'm not talking about die-hard royals. I'm talking about people that really wouldn't really care if the royals were there or not. Those people are of significance to the royal family, because if it's going to continue into George's generation, they've got to get those people on board. And I think this is an ongoing problem. I think the rift between the Sussexes and the rest of the family is a big deal for those people.
I agree. The rift, and we call it a rift, but it's only kind of one-sided, really. It's Harry that's lobbed the complaints rather than the other way around.
No, but it's also William who doesn't want anything to do with Harry.
Yeah, but he hasn't actually entered into kind of any verbal tirades that Harry hasn't answered them. But,
of course.
It's one side. We call it a rift, but it's a kind of one-sided rift. And I totally get it. If that it's better for the rift to be perceived that it's over. But do we think that the rift is over now?
No, I think we've both said it's early days, but this is the beginning, potentially.
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah.
OK. All right. Baby steps.
Well, baby steps. And also, I still think that William's a big problem. As in, I don't blame him at all.
No,
I don't mean that in a derogatory way. But certainly my impression is he doesn't feel comfortable with this rift being fixed. And I don't think, would have wanted this meeting to have gone ahead. My impression is that he just thinks Harry's too much trouble and he doesn't want anything to do with him, and he would rather the king didn't as well. So he's going to have to be brought on side if they're going to fix this.
If Harry wants to repair his reputation, he needs to be closer to the most popular and most liked royals, who are William and Catherine.
Well, that's going to be difficult.
That's going to be hard.
That's going to be difficult. But listen, who knows what's around the corner, mate? He might suddenly come and live here permanently, Harry. And then we'd say, "Oh, that'd be brilliant," But it's the start, As Daisy said, put the ointment on the wound and just see if it works.
Will we have to wait another 19 months, Arthur?
Well, who knows? I mean, this is the royal family. They do things, and when they want to do it, and we just watch it and report it.
And presumably 2027. I know that seems ages away, but the Invictus Games. Presumably that's the big goal, to get Charles or even William to participate, to be there at that. I'm imagining that's the long-term ambition.
I'm a betting man, and I'm not putting any money on that, by the way.
No, I think that's
I'm
fair.
not a betting man, but I mean, in my view, you got to. In many ways, you've got to hope, Matt. Because rifts are no good. Rifts in families, terrible. It festers all the way through. I had one in my father's family. It was terrible. And I wouldn't want that to go on. If they can sort it out, if they can get together and sort it out, be brilliant. I don't know if it's possible, because the big thing is Meghan, because Meghan's the one that, the racist remarks and everything in the early days, and William's saying we're definitely not a racist family. Well, they're not a racist family, and this is a lot of damage was done there. And in fact, even the Queen interview, the late Queen interview, she said this, what is it? Events
Recollections
vary. Yeah, so it's spread that nasty rift, and it needs healing. Yeah, and forgiveness is something that the King would be aware of. He's a very Christian man, and I think he's thinking, look, he's my son, and who knows, let's hope this is the start of something, I think, for the better.
Oh, we all want things to be for the better.
Well, I don't know
we
if
all
you
want
do,
everyone
Matt.
to be
I don't know if you
happy,
do.
but I'm just a cynic. Let's talk about Harry's week. Well, 4 days, or then he fit for 5 days, because then he ended up in Ukraine, which was a bit of a surprise for everyone. We'll talk about that in a minute. What do we make of Harry's week? He arrived. We got pictures of him leaving Los Angeles. He was dressed in black on the day, or the day before the anniversary of the Queen's passing. He landed. He first of all went straight to the Queen's final resting place. We got pictures of him there, and then there was just many good, upbeat engagements throughout the week after. You've seen him perform when he was a working royal. What do you make of his week? I
think it's been a brilliant week. I think the way he's done all the right things. He's been to the Queen, lay flowers there. He's Well Child. It's a charity I've worked with him on, and the children just adore him, and then the job in Nottingham with young people there. He's very much gets engaged, and he becomes one of them. When he's with children, he becomes a child, and he's just thrown himself into it, and it's been smiling all the week. It's been a sort of happy week for Harry, and giving that money away, which I was amazed. I thought they were uppers. I thought they wasn't doing too well, but he's given this £1 million to this. Children in need, which I think is just amazing.
And he was at great pains to make it known that was his own money,
out of his back pocket,
not the foundation's money.
And for that, and of course, he's made I think a little bit of peace with his father. I think he wanted to see his father, and
what do you think of, Arthur, what do you think about people who said that it was rather sort of gauche and vulgar that he announced how much money he was donating, that royals donate money frequently, but that they don't publicise it?
Yeah, I thought that. But, in many ways, I was glad he said it, because, that's a lot of money to give to a small charity like that. And it's done a huge amount of good. And I think, look, he's trying to sort of raise his profile a bit more. He's trying to be, show happy Harry, not miserable Harry. And I think he's done that this week. But
and it certainly was a charm offensive. Both for the public, for the press and the media. Here I am, and a sort of here's what you're missing, or here's what you might feel that you're missing, or here's what you could have.
Do you think?
Yes,
he always wanted that half in, half out deal where he could come over, work with patronages, represent the royals, and then almost like a part-time role, then disappear and have a lovely time in California.
What does he do in America? What does he do all day there? I mean, we saw a bit of show where he feeds his chickens, but what else? I mean, it's Meghan. It's all Meghan on television, Meghan cooking, and Meghan making jam. I mean, Harry seems to be doing nothing over there. And when he comes here, he's somebody here. He's very, he won't care what anyone, talk about all the bad things that's happened, the book and the Netflix show and Oprah Winfrey. Harry is a somebody here, and this week we've shown it. Everybody's been covering it. It's been like a massive story. It's overtaken everything.
But do you know what's interesting? I've been, as you know, working for NBC, the American network, for a long time, covering royal stories for them. So I get to see what they think of the royals through an American lens, and that's really interesting. And Harry is a bigger deal than Meghan is in the States by a long way. And I think we tend to assume that because Meghan's American, she's the star of the show, and that Harry's a sort of also ran. It's really, really not that way at all. Harry is considered the prince and the royal, and Meghan particularly now has lost quite a lot of popularity. She was popular when she first came on the stage and got married and so on. So it's been interesting seeing them, and their interest in both of them has waned, not surprisingly. But he does still have quite a lot of stardust over there.
Yeah, I think he might be getting a bit fed up with it as well. I mean, I think so.
Do you think, I reported, I went to Well Child, went to Nottingham, did quite a lot of, following, he'd been invited to cover, from the outside of some of the, I saw his speech in Nottingham, but every time I posted online on Instagram or Twitter or X as it's called now, I had a lot of people saying, why are you reporting on this guy? We all need to report on William and Catherine, which we'll speak about in a bit. But why are you reporting on this guy? Is the public apathy? Yes, there was a lot of media attention, but do you think the public have bought into this royal trip that Harry's done?
I think, like so much of social media and current affairs and politics now, things are very, very tribal. And, we know, because, I've certainly been at the sharp end of it, there is a Sussex squad who adore Harry and Meghan and will always defend them. And there is, a William and Catherine team cheerleading them, and it really is sort of two tribes, and they don't. So you will have got a lot of criticism from the William and Catherine tribe saying, why are you talking about Harry? But equally there are people who are on the Sussex's side who will have been pleased that you were reporting it, but they just might not have been the sort of the tribal keyboard warriors in the same way.
But I went to Nottingham, they had advertised this event was taking place, and I've got to admit there was not a huge crowd there.
Yeah,
we're talking about public apathy, whether it's us that have just got excited about Harry's visit, and whether you're talking about the hard to reach people, we're talking about that poll. I just wonder if people just kind of shrugged and thought, oh well, Harry's over. Is it just the royal observers like us that are interested?
I mean, all he comes over to attend a court case, isn't he? He's suing somebody or other. So it makes a change where he's coming over doing something that people want to see. Well, I wanted to see it anyway. I wanted to see certainly Well Child, because that is such an important charity of his.
Do you think he'll do this again?
I think so, yeah. I think why not? I mean, it seems to have gone very well this week for him.
Depends how many more millions he's got shoved down the back of the sofa. He can donate next time.
I'd love to see him bring his children over. I really would. I mean, I like to see the children. No one ever seen what they look like. When you see the backs of their heads and their toes and things. It'd be nice to see them, and they should be playing with their cousins up at Balmoral. That's what they should be doing, not stuck down there in Montecito. Oh God, what a miserable life for them.
I think it looks rather idyllic, the life, don't you think?
Well, I don't know. Probably they're doing all right, but, we never see them. We don't know. They're prince and a princess now, and they're probably in line to the throne somewhere, and that's a number some down the... But, we don't see them. We don't know what they look like, and they don't know any of their family. If their family in England, they don't know any of them.
Yeah, and particularly their grandfather, who is in his 70s with cancer. Can't forget that.
Exactly, and I just think that's disgusting. I think it should bring them over, let them enjoy and see their cousins, let them just have a normal life like that everybody has.
Well, the point is, it's only Harry that comes over. I mean, he said he doesn't want to bring Meghan over because I feel that she's safe. It's only Harry.
She wants to come over. If she wanted to come, she'd come. Don't worry. She'd do exactly what she wants.
He is still adamant, as you said, that he won't bring them because of security cases. And obviously that's one of the official reasons why the King felt that this meeting could go ahead this week, because that court case, he lost his appeal about his security, so it's over. And we know, you will have gone over this 100 times, but the official line was the King didn't feel that he could intervene or even see Harry whilst Harry was at legal war with the King's government. That is a very difficult constitutional place to be in for the King, and he felt that he couldn't find a path that wasn't uncomfortable, so he just had to not see Harry until it's over. So that's another official reason why the timing was now rather than a few months ago, because obviously we know that Harry's been over 3 times where he failed to see the King, but this was the 4th time lucky.
It'd be interesting to see if and when he comes back over again.
Yeah, exactly, because if
whether there'll be a nice little walk in the park, or there'll be a little engagement together, or is it just going to be a cup of tea and a little chat, see what the next steps will be.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be working on that behind the scenes.
Yeah. On the final day, when he was in England, I think on Thursday, his spokesman did issue a statement, but he gave a little comment to the press. And I'll say what he said. He said, asked, has Harry enjoyed his trip? And he said, he's obviously loved being back in the UK, catching up with friends, colleagues, and just generally being able to support the incredible work of the causes that mean so much to him. So Harry now loves being back in the UK.
Yeah.
Well, there have been lots of rumours, haven't they, that he was missing the UK, that he was missing his friends, particularly. As far as the family's concerned, he only really keeps up with the cousins, isn't it? Usually in Beatrice. So I think that stands to reason. And Arthur's saying life must be miserable in Montecito. I suspect it's not miserable, and they're very, very comfortable. But you would miss your friends if you're in, if you're abroad and away from your sort of nearest and dearest. So I think that makes sense. Whether or not the stories of big rifts with his old school friends and his old military friends are true, I don't know, but it stands to reason. Well,
he was surrounded by old friends. We talk about Well Child, the job in Nottingham. He'd been there 2 or 3 times.
Invictus,
I
of
think,
course, which is a big passion.
Yeah, so it was all old friends that he came to see.
Yeah, and things he's been, he's worked hard for. Invictus, I mean, that's something he started, and carry on with that. And I think he really cares about these charities so much, and I think he'll keep coming. And I think Harry is just brilliant with young people. And I think nothing's going to change that way, Matt. He come when he wants and do what he wants, as he always does.
And you can see that from the donations, not just the Children in Aid, but then Archwell made a $500,000 donation to 3 different charities that are all concerned with children, particularly amputees in Gaza, the World Health Organization. So it's very, very clear that Harry's 2 things are, injured military and children and teenagers, and he's sort of sticking to those to those 2 groups, which I think is very sensible because it gives him an identity.
I remember the last job I did with him here before he left England. It was to a school up in Luton, a girls' school, and I remember the last pictures I did there. All the girls were hugging him. They were hugging him, loving him. It was just incredible, and he was brilliant with them. Absolutely brilliant with them. So, I see that. I've seen him tirelessly. I've seen him in Lesotho with kids there. I've seen him in Children's Hospital in Barbados with sick kids. He's amazing with young people, and I think he's got a lot to offer still, Matt.
Do you know what I thought after seeing him throughout the week? It sounds harsh, but do you ever remember the episode of The Office where Ricky Gervais gets sacked and he comes back and he keeps coming back to the office and hanging out with his old friends and trying to capture past glories? It felt a bit like that. It was like this is stuff that Harry did 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago that we all thought was wonderful. He wanted to say goodbye to it and go off and do better things, but now he's coming back and he's just reliving what he used to do. I thought he'd said goodbye to it. I thought he was on his freedom flight. I thought he had nothing to do with the UK, and all of a sudden he just kind of wants to relive that.
Well, change. People change, Matt.
Yeah.
I mean,
what was it? Why did he run away to have Megxit and run away if it turns out that he just kind of wants to come back and do his real life?
He married a woman who wanted that. The plan was that. I mean, the last job she did here for this country was a job at Westminster Abbey, and went straight to the airport, flew to Canada. Didn't even go to the drinks party at the palace. No, this lady had a plan, and the plan for her worked. It probably didn't work as well for Harry. I think he's still, as Daisy said, and he's got a lot of friends here. He's had a great life here, and went to school here, all those school friends, and I think he'll keep coming back, Matt. I think he'll keep coming back, and you probably don't like it, Matt, but it's going to happen.
Well, so what do you think he should be doing, if not this?
Well, my point is that he went off to the USA and said, I want nothing to do with the UK anymore. This is my freedom flight. We're starting this whole new life. And then all of a sudden we have weeks like this where he's pretending to be a royal again. Let's be honest, he's pretending to he's doing his old royal jobs again.
A little bit like somebody who's been dumped, and then is a bit kind of bitter about it. I thought you dumped me and left, but why are you doing sniffing around me and coming back? That's like
it's the boy that left school and was going off, left school and then still hangs around by the school gates even though he's left school. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of vibe for me. It's like, I thought you'd moved on and done something else, but now you're going back to what you used to do.
Yeah. So you're just like, good riddance, go away.
Well,
Don't come back.
I thought that was the whole point of Megxit, and it doesn't seem like it is. Now, Harry did go to Ukraine, which was a surprise.
Yeah.
It wasn't on our list. I understand because of security that it was only announced when he arrived. He does have authority in here because this is the Invictus Games. He has served in the armed forces. He has been invited by Ukraine. These are great images for Harry, aren't they, to be in?
And flew back from Afghanistan with sick and injured soldiers, which he took a great interest in afterwards. And I think you're right. He was fully up for that. I was quite pleased to see that actually, because he was invited by the president. So. Harry's, it still means a lot, Harry, and you might not like it, Matt.
No, I think in this sphere with working with, like he does with Invictus, I think he's great. Yeah. And I think he does have authority in the kind of armed service area. Do you think the royal family will be looking at this and thinking, we should be sending William or the King to Ukraine? Harry's been there twice now. I know Sophie's been there in the past, but Harry's now been to Ukraine twice.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think the king can go to Ukraine. I don't think he can.
I mean, the king has had many meetings with
Zelensky,
Ukrainians, not least Zelensky, but plenty of their military. So I think he couldn't possibly be accused of not showing an interest or not being supportive. But you're right. This is very much Harry's area. Having said that, he did really irritate many of his old military colleagues, particularly with his sort of kill sheet of disclosing how many people he'd.
That was wrong.
And the military were very unimpressed by that. So I think there were some bridges to be built there. But I think he's done it. Obviously, Invictus, he continues to support them in that way. But yes, it's a good image for him to be. He's done the charitable. He's done the, philanthropic. Now he's doing the, have a go hero, or the military. So all the different bits of Harry.
It's almost like global statesman. He suddenly put himself on to go to Ukraine. Sorry, I
was going to say the Invictus Games. The Ukrainian delegation last time came here and were training down at Brighton. I went down and did a story with them, and they were sort of thankful for this. This Invictus Games. They were amputees and just. And desperate to go back to fight again, but they were so looking forward to this Invictus Games, and so Harry's done a lot of good there. I mean, if you think about this young man over his lifetime, he's done more good than bad in my view. I know the book was bad, but I've seen him with these kids in Lesotho. That have lost their families to HIV, and helping them and dressing like them and getting involved with them and taking his brother out to see them and starting a night school for them, things that really mattered to him,
Although that charity did, that's
Good point.
Well, that's a good point, but the point is, I saw what he was doing there. I went there a couple of times with him, and I was really impressed, And I asked him, I said, Harry, is this important? It's the most important thing I've ever done, he said. And he was full of it, and so I think.
I think his heart is in the right place with a lot of these issues.
I think he's still got a lot to offer, certainly for young people. Whether he does it here or where, but he does. He will do. The problem is Meghan. She's the one that's I think going to be the problem bringing her back here. Kind of worry about that.
Never going to happen again, is it?
Never going to happen, no.
It's hard to forget sometimes after the week that we've just had is that Prince Harry isn't a working royal, okay? But the Prince and Princess of Wales, Catherine and William are, and they are out in force. We had them at the rugby at the weekend, supporting their patronages. They both support England, the patron of the England and Wales, and they've been everywhere. They went to the Women's Institute on Monday on the anniversary of the Queen Elizabeth II's passing. William was supporting his homelessness project, a mental health hub in Cardiff, and then Catherine was back out at the supporting the UK textiles industry. What was your guys' highlight of William and Catherine's week?
I think mine probably was the textiles. I thought those pictures were great. I thought that story was fantastic. Catherine looked completely in her element. I mean, obviously, still harking back to Harry, it was very poignant that the two brothers were 8 miles apart on the anniversary of the late Queen's death, and only 8 miles apart, and yet it could have been 800 miles as far as their problems go. So that was a sort of a bit of a sad reminder. But yes, I mean they were flying the flag properly and working very hard.
This is your picture, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. Well, that was yesterday. That was at in Sudbury, a mill there, and I mean this woman, you've got to give it to her. She's come through cancer. And she puts everything into these engagements. Everybody she cares about, she seems to make them focus on looking at them and making them feel the most important person in the world. And she smiles and laughs and she's got, she just gives everything. And then, the job overran by half an hour. But even then, she still rushed up the hill to see some school children and be lovely with them and squat down to their level and chat to them, and I just think it's so impressive.
And Arthur, when you see her sort of up close and personal like that, compared to how she was before her cancer, does she look to you? I mean, obviously looks can be deceiving, but does she look healthy?
She looks thinner, I think. But then, when she wears clothes, she looks like a supermodel.
Of course,
she looks it's fantastic. And of course she's, her hair just changed a bit colour, but, I think that's exciting. But, she always, whatever she does with great enthusiasm and just impresses me, and she impressed me yesterday, the time she spent with these operators and then when they were printing the fabrics, the noise and everything, and she just chatted to the workman that was showing her how to work the machines and everything. She just engages and she asks them questions. When did you start? How did you get into this job? And people feel important and she makes them that. And I think she's an absolute star. And I can see why she's number one in the royal approval list, because
this photo you took of her, it's lovely, but also you spotted the necklace.
Well, yeah, George,
Charlotte, Louis.
Charlotte and Louis, yeah. And really nice that. Yeah.
It's really sweet. Yeah. And of course, that's a Prince of Wales check.
Is it really?
Yeah, that is a Prince of Wales check. So that's giving a little nod to her husband.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, she looks fantastic. Nice, yeah. And then she did that thing that I saw that sort of the internet went mad about, where she took her jacket off to put an apron on, right. Rolling her sleeves up, and then she managed to sort of put her hair up into a bun without any sort of implements at all.
Which me and Arthur wouldn't understand. Is that a difficult?
That's a very, very difficult thing. People were saying, please, could you slow down the shot so I can work out how on earth she did that? How did she did that? It looked so perfect. It looked like a hairdresser had done it. So yes, that was.
Well, talking of hair, we're very confused about what colour Catherine is sporting these days, because I saw her last week at the Natural History Museum. I was there, and immediately she turned up. I thought, oh, it looks a little bit blonde, but now we're going a little bit darker. What's happening with her hair? Please tell us.
Well, so there were lots of ridiculous, how these conspiracy theories, people saying, oh, she's wearing a wig because her hair is changing colour sort of by the day. You said you saw her in person. I think some of the photographs, it looked lighter than it actually was because of the lighting and the sun and whatever. But yeah, I think she has had some subtle highlights in her hair.
Well, we're told she never wears extensions. Okay, and it definitely wasn't a wig, by the way. There was just one bad picture where her hair looked a little bit bouffant. That wasn't representative of the whole trip. We're told she doesn't wear hair extensions, and she often does have lighter hair in September. But at least she keeps us on our toes.
Yeah. It
Never
could
boring.
Just be sun-kissed from summer holidays.
Yeah, she's got great teeth as well.
She has.
She's a bad-looking girl, actually, Matt, is she?
So we all agree Harry's had a good week, Catherine's had a good week. What about William? William's been doing some nitty-gritty. He's doing some tough stuff. He's been paying attention to his homelessness project, which he's opened up a building in South London, a Duchy of Cornwall building, where where people at risk of rough sleeping can now stay. And he was opening up a hub in Cardiff, a mental health hub on World Suicide Prevention Day. He's really got stuck in this week while everybody else has maybe been capturing the headlines, Arthur.
Yeah, well, his brother's been dominating the agenda this week. Look, William is just an incredible man, and one day he's going to be our king, and I think he's perfect for that job. But he's got to go to Wales because he's the Prince of Wales, and they go quite a lot. And of course, he's passionate about the things he's interested in, and mental health is one of them. And he just gets involved. And of course, he loves his football, and he'll and you see him letting his hair down at football. I've never seen a member of the royal family do that before. He's different with him. He dresses casually when he goes on jobs. And he's going to be a different sort of king. But we're seeing him now doing the work that he's been doing for years. But for me, he's been totally overshadowed by his brother this week.
Well, I think it's really symbolic that William just did lots of engagements. They didn't go under the radar, but they weren't like as sexy and as exciting as others, because that's what he does every week of the year, whereas Harry comes in, grabs all the headlines for a week, and he won't be back again for another year.
Yeah, well,
But also,
we can talk about this till
yeah, okay, we'll move on.
But just on the homelessness thing, that is very William. That is, he's passionate about it. It's a long-term project. He wants to eradicate homelessness. It's incredibly ambitious, and it's going to take a lot of hard work that will not grab a lot of headlines.
Do you know what, Daisy? I went on one of these homeless jobs with him once, opened up this beautiful home for the homeless, and William was talking to this chap in his lovely little flat, And he said, "Are you happy here?" He said, "Yeah, but I prefer it on the streets."
No.
He did, yeah. And we all fell about laughing, except William wasn't laughing. I mean, yeah, it made me laugh. Yeah, I mean, it was just, I've never forgotten it. Oh no, I prefer it on the streets.
You don't see that's a bad review of that place, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
no, the place was magnificent. But I mean, it was in Westminster too. But you know, I mean, it was just made me laugh. I think about it.
Now, we know the King met Harry this week. He's meeting Donald Trump next week. We've seen the itinerary. It looks quite exciting. Catherine and Melania will be out doing an engagement. Yeah. We're going to have a state banquet. We're going to have a small carriage procession, not as public and through the streets as Macron's in Windsor a couple of months ago. What's going to be the highlights? What are people going to be looking forward to next week? The King and Donald Trump. Surely that's a more important meeting than King and Harry.
Well, it's sort of out of the frying pan into the fire, isn't it?
In many ways, you know. I mean, I think the King is doing his duty as head of state, welcoming another head of state, and I think it's and I think he's doing it because the government have asked him to, and I think that just says it all. I mean, but the fact that the King doesn't believe in the things that Donald Trump believes in, they may get to discuss it. They may, but I doubt it very much.
Yes, I think they'll avoid it.
They'll avoid it if they can. Yeah, but I mean, look, the King believes in saving the planet. You know, I mean, I've been to every rainforest in the world with him. You know, he's just passionate about it. But Donald, I mean, he pulled America out of the climate change agreement, and so they differ in everything. But he's doing his duty, and he'll do it well. And I think there's some good conversations. And Donald Trump is very much an Anglophile as well. You know, his mother was from Scotland, and he loves it here. And you know, he's coming here, and I think that's just impressive. The last overseas visit he made was to Putin, wasn't it? You know, I mean,
we went to Alaska.
But ultimately, the one thing we know about the Donald is he's incredibly vain, and he loves the red carpet treatment, and he loves hobnobbing with the royals. So all of that will tick his boxes, and obviously the government will be hoping that will serve us well. I mean, slightly awkward with no ambassador and no Peter Mandelson anymore, thanks to your colleague on The Sun. So
another Prince of Darkness.
Another Prince of Darkness, exactly. So yes, with no ambassador, that'll make the state visit somewhat awkward.
It'd be see if they're interested in any demonstrations as well. You know, I don't know. I mean, because there's been a lot of that where he's been going, and in America certainly. But look, you know, he's the president of the United States, and he's our king, and they'll do a great job, and so will Camilla, and so will William and Catherine. They'll just give it everything and
That's
make the visit.
And William and Catherine do have big roles as well. I mean, they're welcoming them.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot going on. It'll be Melania, Catherine, and William and Donald. So that'll be those pictures. Again, talking from an American perspective, the Americans are obsessed with William and Catherine more than the King and Queen and Camilla. So those pictures will be very popular around the world.
Well, Donald Trump and William met in Paris last year.
Yeah.
And, Trump seemed to be completely taken. He's a good-looking guy, he's a tall guy. So.
Yes, but also, of course, Trump is very, very familiar with who's up and who's down and who's popular and who's not popular. And he will be fully aware that pictures with Catherine will be very good pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a huge operation in Windsor. Me and Arthur will be down there, won't we? We'll be we'll be down
Wednesday.
Do you think? I mean, is there any worry because there's been the shooting of Charlie Kirk in the USA? Are there any security's obviously going to be massive, but are there any worries for you guys about security for the royals when Trump comes over?
That doesn't bother me. No, I'll never. If you think about that, mate, you wouldn't do anything, would you? I mean, no, he'd be safe here. I mean, there'd be 100 Secret Service everywhere. Everything will be double checked.
Fine.
He'll be safe, and the King will just, the King will show him a good time. The whole royal family will give him a proper welcome.
Great. Well, guys, look, we've just got time for our quickfire questions. So if you take a deep breath and come up with your best answer for these. Right. Firstly, what do you think the first words that the King said to Harry when he walked in through the door?
Nice beard?
No, probably said,
You've grown.
How are you, my son?
Who are you?
Yeah, I'm your father. Nice to meet you.
Used to call him my darling boy.
Yes.
My darling boy.
Yeah. Does Harry call him Pops?
Pa.
Pa, yeah.
Okay. If Harry dropped round to your house for 45 minutes, what drink would you have served him?
The only drink you get in my house would be a cup of tea, because I don't drink alcohol and I keep it in the house. So, but he'd have to have a cup of tea and without sugar.
Yeah, so the same as the famous cup of tea. Oh, I think I'd probably give him a Guinness or something, see if he can split the G.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That's a good idea. And, well, if Donald Trump was to drop round your house for a state banquet, what would you serve him?
Oh, bit of cold porridge.
I'd probably say I was sick and couldn't do it. I could face it, Matt.
Well, we know that he loves a McDonald's, doesn't he? Doesn't he love a McDonald's and a Coke?
Down and get a Big Mac,
I'll get him a Big Mac. Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah.
And finally, just a quick response to this. When do you think Harry will return again?
I think before it won't be as long. It won't be 18 months again, 19 months again. I think it'll be much sooner than that.
I would like to see him go to Catherine's Christmas carol service. I think the chances are very, very slim, but that would be wonderful with the kids, all dressed up in little velvet coats like we always see Charlotte and her mum wearing matching clothes at that carol service. That would be fabulous.
I don't think the world could cope with that.
Can you imagine?
All right, I just don't think.
I'm manifesting it. I want it.
Okay, guys.
Daisy, you got all your fingers crossed there, girl, because
I know.
I think there's more chance of being the next astronaut than that.
I'm living in cloud cuckoo land, but I'm very happy up here.
Well, that's good. I want to see him. I want to see him come back. I've had a great career with Harry, and I just love him. I just wished he would just sort it all out.
Well, there you go. I'm the pessimist, and we've got two optimists here at the end of this week. So thanks very much, guys. That was really good fun. Right, well, thanks so much for watching. If you like the show, then please leave a comment below because we always read them. And subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next week. Yeah, sorry, you're rushing me. We're running out of time.
Oh, I'm not even wearing a watch.
All right. I'll just say thanks very much. All right, well, thanks so much, guys. We went through a lot, really a lot. Thanks so much, guys. We went through a lot. It was a lot of fun. Thank you. Right, well, thanks so much for watching. If you like the show, please leave a comment below because we always read them. And subscribe to the channel so that you never miss an episode. We'll see you next week.